Welcome back to the 5th episode of the Metamorphosis podcast with
Am
and Noey.
Hey.
All right, let's dive in.
Let's have a look
Let's have a look
at what we're drinking.
Oh, well, let's start there actually, and we'll start with maybe mine first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noey's
got some points, some topics to cover.
We have some talking points today. We came prepared. We're just gonna see where the conversation goes. So we are drinking.
Okay, wait, I won't try it yet.
Okay, we're drinking, what is it? Sparkling water, coconut pineapple flavored, PC. This is not a brand deal. Cheers, girl. Oh yeah, this is your first time trying it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
So
okay, cheers. So you would have seen from last week's episode, Am taste testing the Kit Kats. Now we are doing sparkling water. Thoughts?
Absolutely delicious.
Isn't it? It's kind of like a pina colada.
I've actually had this before.
Oh my god.
I just realized.
Well, I just tried it for the first time yesterday.
It's been a while and it's delicious.
So why the soda water?
Hydrated queens.
This brings us up into point number 1.
Before you dive in, I kind of want to just set a little bit of a preface.
Okay, go ahead.
Noey and I were talking earlier today, and we were just discussing, what do we want to talk about on the podcast? What's our kind of topic for the day? And I just think in general, like, just a preface of the podcast, sometimes we're going to have guests, but other times we're just going to the two of us. And, there's a lot that we talk about and share, and some things that we still haven't shared with each other. So I think, like, this is going to be one of those where we're going to dive in a little bit on, like, some things that are going on in our lives right now, and kind of just what's going on in the present moment.
Yeah. So normally, and if you're just stumbling across this now, we're sisters. And all the sisters out there, maybe brothers too, any siblings, like, we talk every day. Every day, sometimes even every hour, we have a phone call like, oh girl, this happened. And so normally we're fully caught up when we come on the podcast. So now what I decided is, like, there was something I wanted to talk to her about, but I'm like, let me save it for the podcast. And so we have our notes. So anyways, a new change that I wanted to make in my life recently is to cut back a bit on drinking. And it's not that I had any serious issues with drinking or anything. I'm 100% extroverted. I'm a very social person.
Yeah.
Love to go out, love to party,
100%.
as you know.
All day, every day.
Every day.
She literally doesn't stop.
Exactly. And so I think because naturally I've been a very social person, and, friends are like, you want to go to a bar, you want to go out, this, that, whatever, or even just, I have a girlfriend now, and so, I don't go out as much, but even with her, like, oh, let's have a glass of wine, let's do this, that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I never had any issues with drinking. I also feel blessed that I don't feel much of a hangover, because we talked about this.
I get the worst hangovers physically possible in the universe. Well, probably worse. Some people might get it worse, but still, I get really bad hangovers from drinking, like, 3 drinks. And this one can just go hard. It's
like a blessing and a curse, because I guess because you have hangovers, probably like a lot of people,
cut down. Yeah.
You just don't do it as much. But for me, I never really had the negative repercussions of drinking, and so anyways, to make a long story short, I found it's gotten to a point where, like, a lot of nights of the week I might have, a beer or a glass of wine, and it's nothing excessive. Very spiritual, and some signs from the universe very recently came to us, and I was looking deep within, and long story short, I came to realize, like, we have our goals, we have things we want in life, and the universe kind of spoke to me, and I had the feeling that I'm going to have to make some type of a sacrifice, or, like, some type of a change in my life, and the first thing that came to my mind was drinking.
Yeah.
And because I feel like, there's no big issues that have come to light, but I think it's an energy sucker in my life. I notice some days I don't have much energy. Maybe the next day I'm not feeling as good or on as high of a vibration. So
at its very core, like, when I think about it too, I've thought this many times, like, drinking, it relaxes you, it gives you a lot of social benefits, you can have a little bit of fun, whatever, but at the very core of it is essentially poison.
A depressant.
A depressant, but also, like, poison.
Yeah,
Like, essentially, at the core of it, if you look at at it molecularly,
scientist Am,
it's a poison.
Of
course it's going to affect your body negatively afterwards, and there's going to take extra time for your body to, like, heal itself from that.
Yeah, especially getting my energy.
And that's a hangover.
Yeah, or even if you don't have a hangover, because I don't really.
Fair.
It just is
energy
like
level.
energy.
Yeah.
So, to make a long story short, that's a big change I'm making in my life. So what I decided to do is just Monday through Friday, Sunday through Monday.
Just looking at the schedule right.
Sunday.
Talk a little quieter.
Oh, sorry. Sunday through Thursday. For the most part, I'm just going to
so you're keeping the good nights.
Friday night, Saturday. Because I think it's all about balance, too. And I was thinking of doing, like, cold turkey for even a month to prove to myself that I could do it. It's October, and Halloween, my favorite holiday ever, is here. So, and we have a lot of fun things coming up. We're going to do a Friendsgiving and everything. So, I think just right now, making a big cut, Sunday through Thursday, not having a drink. And normally when we do our lives, it's Thursday right now, we're filming our podcast. Or on the podcast, I have a drink. Mm-hmm. I want to challenge myself. I don't need that. I just like to sometimes sip something. So I brought my soda water. That brings us full circle to...
her sober water.
My sober water. So cheers, girl. It's a new change.
And she brought me one too.
I sure did.
Which is very generous.
That's another thing. So today's day 2, I think. And no extreme crazy changes, but already I do feel a change. Like I came over, we had a little talk before this. I feel like I have a lot more energy. I just feel a lot more present, a lot more calm, a lot more in control of myself and my emotions. So going well so far.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. It's almost like your body is like already like, wow, like I don't have to deal with this poison. Yeah. So I'm like, I have so much more energy to give to being present.
And I think even just on the spiritual level, it's almost like, I know this might sound cheesy, but I just feel like the universe already is kind of like, this is a good thing.
It's like rewarding you for like making a choice that's in line with your path, with your journey. Exactly. I love that.
So,
I absolutely love that. Well, cheers to that, girl.
Thanks, girl.
Just cheers, but let's do it again.
Yeah, non-alcoholic cheers. I'm not used to those.
I love that.
So, what about you, girl? What's going on in your life? What's up with you?
Where do I begin? I think we touched a little bit on it in one of the podcasts previously, but I'm sort of on this like healing journey, we'll call it. And actually, one of the points I had written down that I would love to kind of open up and talk about, if you're open to it, is the relationship realm.
Like with each other or with
significant others? Did you? That's how you know we're sisters. So yeah, like I think for me, I've had a lot of learnings this year, a lot of growth, and I'm in a place, and so just to give context, like a lot of that learning and growth has come from the multiple relationships that I had, not multiple, like not that many, but like the few relationships that I had encountered throughout the year. I've just learned so much. And so I think like what would be cool is if we talked about like we can talk about it and share our thoughts and stuff, but what is our biggest thing that we learned from our relationship? Did you write that down too?
So, okay, I guess they play into each other so we can have this discussion. This is killing me because we are sisters. I wrote down, because I was thinking, and obviously I'm in a relationship right now. You are single.
Yes.
And that literally hit me. I was at the gym today and I was on the treadmill. I was just thinking, and I was like, there's so much that I'm learning right now being in a relationship. My God. But then I was also like,
there's so much I'm learning being single.
Girl! I'm gonna show it to you. Literally, learnings, relationship versus single. Because most of my life, I've been single. Yeah. And that majority, Am has been in a relationship. Yeah. Like, we're talking like maybe 10 years. I've just been single. She's been in relationships.
Our whole 20s.
Our whole 20s. Yeah, the majority of our 20s. Because I got into a relationship, I think, at 28.
No? Girl, you were 29. You turned 30.
With KJ, I had a relationship before that.
Oh.
So most of my 20s I've been single. Most of Am's 20s she's been in relationships. And all of a sudden, this past year or so, it just swapped. Switched. And now I'm in a relationship, a very serious relationship, and Am is single. And so I was going to say, you could talk to your learnings also. I guess it is being single because you weren't like in a relationship with these people, or were you?
No, yeah. Like so I was dating.
Yeah,
I would say I was dating, but I wasn't in a full blown relationship.
Exactly.
I would say like I don't know. It's difficult because I was actually thinking this myself. I'm like I feel almost like I was like in a way like single for the year. Or for the past little while, but I really wasn't because I was like
talking to
somebody or dating somebody, and when I date somebody, I only talk to that one person, so I'm not like talking to multiple people. Yeah. So like
that's why I was gonna say like this past month or so. It's been like the first time you were like fully talking to anyone.
Because the past year I've been kind of jumping from like dating someone to like I stopped dating them and then I date someone else right after and then so on and so forth until just this past like August-ish. I guess like there is a sort of negative pattern there. Not negative, but like recurring pattern where like I'll stop talking to someone and then I'll just immediately start talking to another person somehow. I'm not that I pursue it, it just happens that way.
Yeah.
And so this is the first time where I've actively been like, no, I'm gonna just focus on me.
So I was just gonna ask that, are you intentionally, because we haven't actually even talked about that, are you intentionally like...
I would say that I'm like open.
You're still swiping.
No, I'm actually not.
Wow, that's good.
Because I thought like the dating apps, like I've been on for a bit and like I've met people through dating apps here and there, but I don't want to meet someone that way. I don't want to start that whole process. And,
no judgment to anyone who is meeting people that way, but I think
I've done it. So
that's what I'm saying.
I just feel like I'm in a place where I don't want to go actively looking. Like a dating app, in my opinion, is you're actively looking to date someone.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
You're not actively searching for someone right now.
Exactly. Like I'm not. It's not that I don't want to. I'm just seeking it out.
Yeah.
I'm not seeking it out because I've realized and I've learned, so big learning coming back to the relationship thing is I've learned throughout those that there's some patterns I've come across within myself that I'm like, I need to take a step back and like figure those things out first.
Yeah.
Work on that actively while still being open. Like I'm not, if something comes along and I'm like, nope, I gotta, like, if there's a connection there, I'll pursue it, but I'm not like before where I'm like actively looking.
Almost like needing it. Or not needing it, but I felt like you maybe because
you can say
for
that
the majority of your 20s, if
yeah.
your norm was like just being, that's all you really knew for your adult years, like then not having it, it's maybe naturally not even like an addiction, but you're just like
used to it.
You're used to it. That's your norm.
Yeah, I would say that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But it's just so interesting because right now I honestly feel like this is the first time. It sounds dramatic, but like. I feel like my head is just like out of the water. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm like clearly. I'm like seeing clearly. I'm like breathing, and I'm like, oh, like I have a whole ass personality. I'm a whole ass person.
Learning about yourself.
I'm learning about myself.
So let's dive into that. So in this period of time, I'm sure there's been so much, but like, what's one of the first things that comes to mind of like a lesson you've learned, or not even a lesson, something about yourself, just something that you've taken away from like. Truly just being single.
Yeah.
And independent.
It's so funny because we're literally talking like this is like a month in. Like and we're just like
but like
all these
2 days into not drinking, I feel like
right?
A little bit different. So,
no, girl.
Well, I'll tell you. We'll have this conversation. I mean, maybe you won't be single in a year from now, but like,
what do you mean? Oh,
I'm saying like even next month or 3 months. Like we'll just
whatever it is, I'll have had longer of a time in there to talk from. But I would say so. It's interesting because when my last sort of I'll call it like situationship for lack of better. I don't know what else to call it. Person that I was talking to and sort of dating at the time ended. We would talk every single day, like all day, every day, communicating, and like I liked that. But there were some things many little things I learned from all of the different relationships I've been in. But what I can say about that is like it was difficult for the first week or so, like first and second week. Like it is kind of like an addiction.
Well, that's the period of time it's like cut off, and
it just goes from black to white, and you're just like. You know, and I'm the type of person, like, it's kind of sometimes necessary in those cases to do that as opposed to, like, a slowly, like, it sometimes, it's harder but also easier to cut it off fully.
What do you mean?
Like, instead of just slowly, like, talking here and there. I mean...
Oh, you mean just, like, cold turkey?
Cold turkey, yeah. Like, it was kind of a little bit of both. We did talk a little bit here and there, but then it was sort of just all of a sudden nothing at all, and it was a bit of a shock. Like, I'm, like... Grabbing my phone, like, where's the text, where's the message?
Dopamine.
Yeah. It sounds so cliche, but I would honestly say, like, spending actual time with yourself and, like, being proactive about that time. So, like, not just sitting and mindlessly watching TV, which is honestly fine because it's needed. Rest is needed. But, like, I've been able to take up journaling, like, writing things down my goals, and set up, like, a better kind of schedule and routine for myself that like involves, you know, cooking and feeding myself right, and things that I kind of all shoved aside for relationships. That is something now I'm learning is like I'm gonna keep those things and when I go into my next thing,
like you're gonna establish your ways and
and almost like I what I'll summarize it as is I've been able to create healthy boundaries within myself of like routines and schedules, and like I go out at this time and I do my thing, and I just have so much more time and energy.
Yeah.
And I want to keep, normally like when I have gone into relationships in the past, it's all about that person.
Yeah.
And like some of you guys watching, like a lot of people will probably already know this because they've had the same experiences, but I've learned it for the first time myself, and by doing, like, you need to still bring in your own time and your own things within a relationship and have boundaries. Like, okay, this is time for, you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, that's funny.
Oh my god, I just realized.
So I guess the takeaway is just like structure in your life and more me time, almost probably even like learning parts of yourself or establishing parts of yourself.
I love the way you put that, establishing. I would sum it up to say prioritizing yourself.
Okay, I love that.
Because in a relationship, it is possible to still prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
I'm yet to know if that's actually something you should do or if it should be equal prioritization of yourself and your partner.
I was just going to talk to that.
But I have always prioritized the other person.
Yeah.
And it's never obviously worked out because I don't think that's the right way to go about things. When you put someone else above you, you neglect yourself.
I think there's your answer.
And so that is my answer. So I think the biggest takeaway is just I've had this uninterrupted time to just prioritize me and give. I'm a very giving
giver,
person.
Yeah.
I give to everyone in my life that is close to me. I give to you. I give to my mom, my close friends, my best friend Joe, my little baby Bougie, and then a lot of the times I'm like, if I have a person in my life, I'm giving to them too, and there's nothing left for me.
Yeah.
So I've been able to give to all those people now and give to myself too, and it's just
I love that, girl. Cheers. That's beautiful.
Thanks, girl.
Well, I'm happy for you. I really am. I'm seeing a different side of you.
Lots, and then like what comes with that is a lot of just little learnings too that we can talk about in a bit. But let's hear your.
Well, transitioning over to the other experience, it's so funny because I feel like exactly what you said. Like I relate to because like I've lived that single life, but like it's so funny because you're saying like so I've been so used to prioritizing other people. Now I could prioritize myself. Almost verbatim the opposite. So lived the majority of my life in my 20s, just me. Like, that's all I had to think about. I only had situationships. Like, I never had, like, a real relationship up until probably, like, 28. So, it's been the opposite. Like, I've had to learn unestablishing my ways that I've created.
My God, that's so
learning to put other people ahead of me. And not that I would say I didn't, because I would always do it with you and my mom. But, like, there's no experience like having a relationship. I think it's one of the most beautiful things that you could do in life is learning to love another person and feel their love of you and have that connection and that bond and that partnership, and it has been one of the most beautiful experiences of my life.
Girl, why do you think I did it?
Why do you think I get it, and I get why you're probably searching for it too, but it is important to have, because there are pros to being single too, and I've lived that.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting because I would say like you're always learning parts of yourself, but I that time of just being alone for so many years, I really learned who I am. You know what I mean? And I
did. And you've always been very strong in that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so I think, but you've always been learning how to live with someone else and how to be with someone else and prioritize them. So a lot of the learnings is, we had a little donkey bark interruption. Back to what I was saying is, I also feel I have to give a huge shout out because I feel like I'm very blessed to be in a relationship with such a beautiful person. Mm-hmm. You know her, KJ, and like someone who's very emotionally mature and helping to make me aware of a lot of things. So my biggest learning is just being in a relationship. I've heard you've said
You're
it, and I've heard it is like it holds a mirror up to yourself. Yeah. Like it's a lot about that other person, but I've learned more about myself in this past year of being with KJ than I have probably my entire life. And I think what's interesting is like being alone and you learn yourself, but in a certain light.
In different context.
Different context. I learned everything about myself, and I thought I was very self-aware for like Noey and Noey's lane. But all of a sudden now there's this whole other KJ lane, and it's learning to prioritize that other person. It's learning to change parts of yourself.
Well, I would say, like, I would reword that to say balance the prioritization of yourself and that other person.
Exactly.
Like, from my experiences, it never works when you fully prioritize the other person.
I love that, yeah. I agree, because, I think it has to be balanced, because you always have to make sure you're taking care of yourself, not in a selfish way, but when I'm my happiest, I'm being my best version of myself for her. Yep. And so it's learning to that balance.
And it's truly a skill.
It is.
Like, it's not an easy thing to do, because you can just get lost in it. It feels so good to, like, make another person happy, and then all of a sudden 3 months later, you're like, why do I feel so shitty?
I know.
And then you have to go back.
Well, yeah, so I think, learning parts of myself, learning areas of improvement blind spots. I think that's what it is.
Wow.
I think there's so many different dynamics and relationships you can have with people, but being in an intimate relationship with someone, you're going to see blind spots that I might not even known I had with you or with my mom or with my friends or anyone else in my life.
That's a really good way to put it.
Because you're thrown into different levels of experiences and different contexts, and so it's been honestly one of the most beautiful journeys of my life so far. Also, one of the ones that have pushed me the hardest and to grow. And I think it's just so interesting because I fully get it now. Like, being in a relationship, it holds a mirror up to yourself, and you see parts of yourself that vulnerabilities that I've never experienced before. So I guess if it's one learning, it's so basic, and we actually went to a wedding, and there was parents there that shared their insights, and
both of our learnings are so like simple and basic. Like, everyone's just like,
it goes back to the basics. It's communication.
Oh my
communication. Communication through conflict, communication in good times and bad, and just communication. And I've known for myself, and we've actually talked about this. I think communication is one of my strengths. Like, I love to talk. I love to, I can express myself really well in writing forms and certain things. It can also be my weakness, because I sometimes feel this, shell that, I don't really talk about my feelings sometimes, when I'm really going through it. And just sharing that I'm vulnerable, that I could be hurt, that I could be, what's the word? I guess, not even...
susceptible?
I guess I'm sometimes scared to share how I feel because I think it's a sign of weakness. I'm weak in this sense, or I don't like that you did this because it hurt me, but I don't want to feel like I'm too sensitive, and you know what I mean? Right. It's scared to be vulnerable, scared to show that you're experiencing pain or hurt. And
it's a big thing, I think, for you too. Well, everyone, but you're an extremely highly sensitive and emotional person.
I am.
So
yeah,
you gotta. It's a good learning to find a way to express those things, because you're gonna have to.
Exactly.
You can't bottle those up.
Yeah. So lots of learnings, but the takeaway,
communication. Takeaways
is communication. And even though I thought that was my strength for so long, my strength can also be my weakness, or there could be areas to improve and develop that. And I think
your biggest learning, to sum it up, would be that you have areas of communication that you'd like to work on.
I think the biggest takeaway is you can think you have it all, or not have it all together, but you just, you could think I'm aware of myself, but being in a relationship, be open to the fact that there might be areas for yourself that you realize, blind spots, I really have work to do, or I've never felt this feeling before, I'm feeling it now, what's happening, and just being, it just puts you into a whole new lane. And
I wonder if that's actually what's the word, a quality of a healthy relationship. Because I don't necessarily think I've had, not to say that my relationships weren't healthy in the past, but I guess what I'm trying to say is a sign that person is perhaps a very good match for you, because they are able to show you, they're pushing you, and they're able to show you these things that you didn't even realize about yourself.
Exactly.
And so I think, what was my train of thought? I was saying,
because you're not that you've never experienced that, but I guess maybe you haven't felt.
I haven't really felt pushed to kind of grow. I've grown from the hurt and pain, or or just I've learned things, but I wouldn't necessarily say that no, actually that's not true, because I've had, I've been able to reflect a little bit from, all the experiences, and say, okay, here's the parts, the biggest one being, I want to make sure that I prioritize myself in a relationship, but I think it's different. It's
That's
different
actually
than, a core trait about your personality that you can work on, that you didn't know you needed to work on.
Well, can I give my honest opinion?
Go off, and we'll
see if it's things or not. But I think maybe that is your learning too, of recognizing certain patterns, and maybe that also is a reflection of the
people you choose,
the people you live with. Because I've also let's not. But I do agree. Back to your point, I think I'm very blessed to be with such a beautiful person that is able to help me.
What I'll say is,
to terms with
I think that's a great indicator that that's someone that it's a great opportunity to stay in a long-term relationship with that person.
Because they're literally making you a better version of
yes.
yourself. Yeah.
Whereas for me, I wasn't feeling that, so that's why those relationships did end. Like, not even that that wasn't the main reason I wasn't they ended, but like
looking back now, you're noticing it didn't make you a better person.
Yeah, and like they ended for a reason. So it was like it wasn't doing any good. It wasn't improving my life in any way. And I do think relationships should improve your life. Yeah. Like if you're in a relationship and it's making you feel shittier on a daily basis and your life is a mess as a result and it was better before that relationship, I think it's common sense. And, you know,
just one thing on that quickly though, because I think there's an interesting point to differentiate between, it's like, is this relationship literally just bringing you pain and hurt and bad feelings and not making you better, or is this a relationship that, because sometimes growth can be painful, sometimes growth can be like it's not to say that
but growth can be recognized. Like growth it's not to say that, I'm not saying painful, I'm saying making your life worse.
Exactly because so the bigger picture, because I think I've heard this, it's like it's not to say that in a relationship the minute you feel pain or hardship or anything it's like give up, abort. It's like, no, if it's basically what I've realized, this is another learning, is there's some things that come up where conflict happens, but it's a part of myself that I want to change. It's not like, let's say I don't like doing dishes, and so I'm mad because we fight over dishes and I'm like, I'm just gonna give up. It's like, no, like it's like our conflict comes of parts of me that I want to change, and genuinely once I change will be a better person. So it is hard at times, but you have to push through that hardship if it's making you a better person. But if it's something that it literally isn't changing you, then it's then maybe you need to look at that.
Yeah, well, I mean, just from the outside perspective, like observing your relationship, I see you go through hard times. Like you guys have really good highs and really, really lows as well, as a normal couple does. But what comes out of that is that I see that you're actually improved on some of the things that I've even experienced that I think she needs to improve on. But
you get a byproduct
obviously
of
she wouldn't listen to me. So it's like you're working on these things and you can see that it's hard. So, but it's hard in a good way.
Exactly. It's productive.
It's productive.
Not detrimental. I think that's what it is. If you have pain or hardship in a relationship, it's like, is it productive or is it
versus in my experiences, for the most part, they've been like, you haven't seen the best sides of me. Like you've kind of seen like me being drained a little bit and not, like
not your best version of yourself.
I'm not the best version of myself.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's, I think,
exactly.
Huge.
So I've learned a lot from that to like, be very, well, actually one last learning I will take is like, I'm going to take it slow.
Oh, girl.
I'm a typical lesbian.
U-hauler. She's a U-hauler.
I mean, like, I think a lot of us are guilty of that. It's not easy to, it's so easy to do, especially when it's two women. Like, you just have that connection.
You love me? I love you.
We have so much emotion, and it's like day two. But
I've been kind of the opposite. But
that's true. But I think a possibility of that is because you've also taken so much time to learn yourself, and like you have yourself already prioritized that you don't just like dive into another person right away. Maybe.
Yeah.
But for me,
I've been established in my ways of living alone that when I meet someone, it's like harder to like live with, like get to the point of being with someone else, whereas you're
I've always been with someone, so
I feel like you're like, let's
exactly. So I'm excited to just for the next whatever comes about in the future, I'm taking it slow. Mark my words, guys.
Let's all hold her accountable, please. No, girl, that's powerful.
Thanks, girl.
All right, well, we're already late for our live, so let's
wrap it up. I think that's enough relationship talk.
That was a really good conversation, girl.
That was good. Yeah,
we'll do more of this.
It was good. It was reflective.
It was productive.
Yeah. So all I'm gonna say is, if you guys have thoughts, feelings, like whatever we talked about, I would love to hear everyone's opinions on what's your biggest takeaway from your relationships. Like, share the learning.
Or being single. Like, whatever side you're on, you're either single or in a relationship.
Yeah.
What have you learned?
Yeah. Tips, tricks, what has worked for you, what hasn't. Because at the end of the day, like, we should just use this as an opportunity to learn from everyone's experiences, because we've all had crazy experiences. And so, share them in the comments. Would love to hear how your guys' single and relationship experiences go and what your thoughts are on that.
All right, thank you for watching episode number 5 of the Metamorphosis podcast with
Am
and Noey. Do what makes you happy,
spread love,
and morph into the real you!
Okay, let's sit down, let's get ready. So what is it? Welcome back to...
I also feel... No. Oh. Good job, girl! Episode number 5!
Don't put that
number 5.
Don't put that in.
Do what makes you happy.
Okay, do it again.
Wait.